So this was in 2020, like when the pandemic was starting, or at least when it was in the media that this was going on in China. And I was hospitalized with a psychotic episode, and I felt constantly on edge. Like I have to constantly be aware of my surroundings and make sure that no one is trying to do something to me or make me do something to someone else. It's kind of losing this sense of agency. I'm being followed and chased and I'm scared and I don't know what is happening or what I need to do. I thought I was responsible for so many things. There's no kind of objective reality anymore, like everything is the way that I think it is. It's a constant state of panic. What happened is I was in the normal hospital with my friend, my best friend, and she was like my sister. And she was kind of helping me out and there as someone I trusted. But then they told me I have to go to Mount Carmel and she's not allowed to come. The ambulance went to the entrance of the ward immediately. And it looked like a really old primary school. Like I thought for some reason, either this was like a terrorist home base or it was an illegal abortion clinic. Maybe I was pregnant and you can't have abortions in Malta. Or it was some sort of trick to kind of make me confess to all of these things that I had done. The state of the hospital, there's barely any maintenance. You can see the walls are like coming off. There are windows that are shattered and have never been fixed. There are like holes everywhere. There are these very old, heavy doors that make a lot of noise when you open and close them. A lot of metal. It kind of creates this idea of a prison. The way that people are walking around and shouting a lot. There's a lot of noise. The doors are constantly banging. It's really a bit like you would see a psychiatric hospital in a horror film where there are people banging on doors trying to get out, literally. They would just give you pills handed from people's hands without any gloves, without any boxes. And you're just supposed to trust that this is the medication that you're meant to be taking. It's not even in like packaging, right? It's just loose pills. I got to see a psychiatrist, but never a psychologist or a therapist, which means that a psychiatrist prescribes you pills, right, medication, which was very necessary in the state I was in, obviously. But I didn't have a psychologist or a therapist who was there to talk with me. But the only way that they use to get you out of there is by medication. There was nothing that instilled a sense of trust in me, nothing. Like everything that happened just made it scarier. In the end, the recovery progress was mostly initiated by myself. It wasn't thanks to the hospital or thanks to any kind of healthcare institution telling me like, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is the kind of therapy you're going to get. This is the kind of help you're going to get to reintegrate into society. And it took me a year by myself. So the fact that this is up to patients to decide, okay, I need this time and I need this help to get better is obviously horrible because not everyone has the opportunity, not everyone has the ability, not everyone has the time or even the money. It should be a given. It's something that should come from the institutions rather than from the patients themselves. So yeah. So I wrote down what I went through and about the hospital itself. And we published it, I think, in the evening or at least in the afternoon on this blog. And within a few hours, it already had many views, like a lot more than we expected. I think it was like clicked 9,000 times, which was really extraordinary. And then the next day I woke up to like 25,000 views. I got a message from journalists from the Times of Malta, from the Malta Independent, from all of these online platforms if I wanted to give them an interview or if we could have a call about this. And it became such a big thing, like 50,000 people read the piece in the end. 50,000, that's like 10% of the Maltese population. So that's for that country a lot. Now, obviously, the media hype is over. There were a few people that spoke up after me, which was great. But apart from this promise of building a new hospital, not much has been done.
The European Union and all of its 27 member states took a strong commitment to human rights when they signed and ratified the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. This is an international human rights treaty that promotes and protects the rights of persons with disabilities. Article 19 recognizes that every person with disabilities, including people with psychosocial disabilities, have the right to be included in the community and live independently. Unfortunately, today, there is still at least 1.5 million people living in institutional settings, meaning they have little to no control over their life. They live isolated from their communities, and their needs are often overlooked or preceded by the requirements of the institution in which they're placed. The EU can do a great deal to prevent this and support member states in reforming their mental health care system. It can mobilize resources to advance the transition from institutional to community-based care. It can better monitor the use of EU funding to make sure that these are being employed in a way that is human rights compliant. And finally, it can promote exchanges of information and knowledge among member states to scale up promising practices.
If you're a decision maker who can have an impact on a more holistic approach to patients in mental health care, please consider every patient as a human being needing healthcare the way that you would for physical health, because mental health is just as big of a part of our well-being as physical health, and treatment is so important for these people.